All right, let's get right into it. Everyone's focused on this 2029 deadline for 47 days certs, but honestly, they are completely missing the point. This isn't some far off compliance headache. No, this is a very real, very immediate engineering problem that is staring your production pipeline right in the face. And here's the kicker, almost nobody is ready for what's coming.
Okay, see this number? 8x? If you remember one thing from this, let it be this. 8 times your current workload for public certs, all the renewals, the deployments, every single fire drill you have to deal with is about to get 8 times bigger. And look, this isn't some wild guess. It's just simple math.
And you can see exactly how this scale just creeps up on you. Let's say you have 500 certs. Right now, that's about 500 renewal events a year. You can probably muscle through that manually, right? Maybe with a spreadsheet and a lot of caffeine. But come March 2026, that number doubles. 1,000 events. The cracks start to show. Fast forward to 47-day certs, now you're at 4,000 events a year. The real question isn't, can you meet a deadline? It's, can your pipeline actually handle 8 times the throughput without a human being involved? And for most organizations, the honest answer is a hard no. So the big question is, where does it all fall apart? It's not just one thing. Certificate automation is really a 5-stage process, and if any one of those stages fails, the whole thing comes crashing down.
So you've got discovery, validation, issuance, deployment, and then monitoring. Think of it like a chain, and we all know a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. The problem is, most organizations have maybe 1 or 2 of these links automated, but there's a huge critical gap, usually a manual step, hiding in the others. So let's go find where those failures are hiding.
First up, discovery. And the logic here is painfully simple. You can't automate what you don't even know exists. Think about it. You've got developers spinning up new services on the fly, ephemeral cloud workloads that pop in and out of existence, and of course, good old-fashioned shadow IT. All of this means there's a huge chunk of your certificates that are completely off the radar, totally invisible to your central teams. And that brings us to the next ticking time bomb, validation. We're talking about DCV, domain control validation. Now, if any part of your renewal process relies on a human getting an email and clicking a link, well, that entire process is officially on life support. It's dead. By 2028, it's gone. You have to move to automated methods like DNS01 or HTTP01. The problem? That requires API-level access to your DNS, something a shocking number of teams just haven't set up yet. But this quote right here, this is the big one. This is the #1 failure point, hands down. We've all been there, right? You get that frantic Slack message at 2 in the morning. The site's down. Certificate expired. So you scramble, you check the logs, and what do you find? The CA issued a new cert hours ago. So the automation worked, right? No. Wrong. The certificate renewed, but it never actually made it to the server. So why does this happen all the time? Oh, it could be a dozen different things. Maybe the connector to your F5 just gave up. Maybe some config drift broke your deployment script. Or, my favorite, one node in your Kubernetes cluster got the new cert, but the other 4 didn't. The automation script ran just fine, but your load balancer is still out there, just happily serving up that old expired certificate to all your users. And that's what makes this so dangerous. It's a completely silent failure, right up into the moment it becomes a P1 outage. Which leads us perfectly into the final gap, monitoring. You see, most teams are monitoring for one thing. Renewal succeeded. They get that little green check mark from their Acme client and think, job done. But what they're not doing is monitoring for deployment verified. They're not actually pinging the live endpoint to see if the new certificate is in use. And because of all that alert fatigue and this lack of real verification, there's just this massive, dangerous blind spot. Okay, so let's have a really honest conversation for a second. Let's talk about the massive gap between what vendors promise you and the messy reality of what's actually happening in production. This chart, this is what your actual visibility looks like. I'm sorry, but it's true. Vendors come in and they promise you complete 100% visibility in days. But the reality for most enterprises, you're seeing maybe 60–70% of your certs. That huge red slice, that's the 30 or 40% you're missing. They're lurking in the cloud, hiding in dev environments. They are literally ticking time bombs you can't even see. And this really just sums the whole thing up, doesn't it? The tools are definitely getting better, but the reality on the ground just hasn't caught up. You can't have fully automated validation if you can't get API access to your DNS. It's that simple. And even with the slickest tools in the world, deployment is still the #1 failure point because all those connectors are fragile and every single production environment is unique and special snowflake.
Okay, seriously, forget about 2029 for a minute. It's a total distraction. The date you really need to circle in bright red on your calendar, it's a lot closer than you think.
There it is. March 15th, 2026. That's the day the industry switches to 200 days certs. Now, this isn't the main event. Think of it as the dress rehearsal. It is your first and, frankly, maybe your only chance to see what happens when you put your pipeline under a 2x load. And this is exactly why that date is so critical. Let me put it plainly. If your janky, partially automated, human-in-the-loop process breaks at 2x the volume, it's going to be absolutely destroyed at 8x. Consider March 2026 your free trial period for your automation. This is your shot to find all those hidden gaps and fix them before this whole thing turns into a 5-alarm fire. So here's your homework. You need to go back to your team before March 15th and get brutally honest answers to these 4 questions. 1. Can you renew every single public cert without a human clicking a button? 2. Does deployment really happen automatically after a cert is issued? 3. Do your alerts tell you about real failures, or is it just a wall of noise? And 4, the big one, have you ever actually tried to break it? Have you tested your failure scenarios? Okay, we've laid out the problem, we've highlighted all the risks. Now let's switch gears and talk about what you can actually do about it right now. First things first, this week. I mean it. This is urgent. You need an inventory. How many certs do you have? Where are they? Which CAs issued them? You have to know what you're dealing with. Then your next step is to identify every single renewal process that has a human in the loop. That is your biggest area of risk, right there. Okay, next up, this quarter, right as that 2x volume starts to hit. Your mission is simple. Eliminate those manual steps. That means migrating all of your DCV over to DNS-01 or HTTP-01. And then you start tackling deployment automation. Don't try to boil the ocean. Focus on your top 20% most critical applications first. Get those wins. And then, by the end of this year, of 2026, the goal is clear. True end-to-end automation for every single public certificate. And look, this isn't just about building the happy path. It's about actively trying to break your own system, run failure scenarios, document everything. Your goal isn't just automation, it's resilience. So if you take away just one thing from all of this, let it be this. This is not a timeline problem. It is an automation gap problem. And that gap isn't something in the future. It's already there, hiding in your pipeline right now, just waiting for the increase in volume to expose it. And that leaves one final question that you and your team have to answer. Is March 2026 going to be an early warning, the wake-up call you needed to finally get this right? Or is it going to be the date of your first major automation-induced outage? Really, the choice is yours.